What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into the West Virginia postgame show here at the Voice of College Football. We are live on the Voice of College Football channel, the West Virginia Mountaineers at the Voice of College Football channel, and of course, the Country Roads webcast channel, as well as we are the two hosts of the CRW podcast here. Me, Jordan Cruz, and then, of course, got Steven here with me. What's going on, Steven?
What's going on, my brother?
Of course, seen better days than what we've seen today, I think. I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll start, obviously, in case you missed it, Texas Tech beats West Virginia 48-10. And I think the worst part, I guess where I'll lead it off, Stephen, is you had happen the one thing that you couldn't have happen if you were this coaching staff. Not only did you get beat soundly, but you looked eerily similar to how you did against Texas when everyone had the issues, they had 2 weeks ago. And even the people that had been defending this coaching staff at that point had come on, started to come on board after that Texas game a little bit like, whoa, what are we doing here? And so then after this game, I think when you see the same thing, last week you thought, okay, maybe we'll give you a chance. People weren't back on board necessarily, but they were willing to give it a chance. And then when you see this type of performance come out and straight get embarrassed again, that's the one thing you couldn't have happen, I think, if you're this coaching staff moving forward. So, I don't want this to be just a straight bash fire Neil Brown session, I guess, but that's my thoughts on it. Is it's the worst possible situation for this coaching staff right now because of the way that it happened.
Yeah, and you pretty much just took the words right out of my mouth. And there's not any way, in my opinion, that you can win back this fan base from what else happened. There's no way, because you spent 4 seasons in this and you're getting blown out like this several times in a season. No, it's not going to cut it. So even if there is, potential in this coaching staff and somewhere a silver lining in the future, there's no way that this fan base is going to be patient enough to wait that out. So I think that this game pretty much sealed his fate. I don't know if it's his last game coaching WVU, but I guarantee you West Virginia's not going to spend any extra time on Neil Brown. I think he's done at WVU after this year.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be trending that way. It's questionable kind of before this one. This was the one, we talked about even on our Q&A stream that we did last night over on our channel about how this one was, really barometer for the rest of the season, which in turn would be a barometer for this program moving forward, I think. So definitely not what you wanted to have happen. Texas Tech, dominates it from the beginning. I think missed opportunities was the story for me early. I think one of the biggest plays of this game in my eyes, if we go all the way back towards the beginning, was on Texas Tech's opening drive. West Virginia forced them into a third down. Aubrey Burks makes a great break on the ball, but doesn't get the interception. Texas Tech goes on to convert a fourth down, the first one that they would convert of many in the first half. They were 6 of 6 at one point in the first half, and that goes on to a touchdown. So that was a missed opportunity for West Virginia right off out of the gates that would have, got them the ball back in a 0-0 game. Then, another play that stands out to me is looked like the quarterback, Baron Morton, fumbled for Texas Tech. They didn't even review that play. That was another missed opportunity for West Virginia. And then, of course, they did force a couple Texas Tech fumbles they couldn't recover. So I think missed opportunities were the story. But that one play early, it's crazy to think that play, on an opening drive was that big. But I think it really could have turned the tide because after that, Texas Tech got all the momentum and never looked back.
Yeah, there was a lot of missed opportunities all the way around. A lot of the fan base is going to be hard on JT Daniels for what happened today, but I'm telling you, he put the ball where he needed to more often than not, and the receivers just didn't make plays. And there was a few times that they did make plays, and we finally, Sam James made a nice catch right before the half, and then Bryce Ford Wheaton obviously had the touchdown with a pretty nice grab. But other than that, the receivers had 50-50 balls where the ball was where it needed to be. And they just didn't go up and get it. There was one play I can remember, Reese Smith. He's diving in the end zone when he needs to be turned around, making a play on the ball, trying to grab it. And he pretty much just, leaves it to where the defender has an open play on the ball. And that was more often the case whenever those picks were thrown today.
Well, my
I know
issue
that
with
we
that
haven't
one is
seen.
why are you throwing, on that play? Why, if he's the shortest of the
Which is
four
true.
receivers, that's the one that probably has the least likely to catch the 50-50 ball. Why are we throwing it to him instead of Prather or Bryce Ford Wheaton or even Sam James, who's 6 foot? Reese Smith's what, 5'9", 5'10". I don't understand the call there for one.
Yeah. I don't know, man. the one thing that I think overall glaringly stood out to me was the lack of effort. I mean, there was just complete lack of effort on all sides to me because
Yeah.
with injuries, and you get that. That's the nature of the beast. You're going to have injuries every single year. You can't let that happen. That's a 38-point loss when you're 50-50 in this on the season and you're trying to make, like I said last night, you're going to be this is the game to progress you throughout the season. Where it's going to show where you're going to snowball into, whether it be in the winner column or the loss column. And I will guarantee you, I don't know that West Virginia will lose the rest of their games, but I promise you they will lose more than they win because
Yeah,
this
I mean,
team
at this
just
point,
doesn't
it's
show
hard
that they
to
have the power to win.
It's hard to see that not happening at this point. But before we get too far in here, I know we're a few minutes deep, but people are starting to roll in now. So really appreciate everybody that's tuning in here, whether you're on the Voice of College Football YouTube, the West Virginia at the Voice of College Football YouTube, or ours over at the Country Roads webcast. We're simulcasting on all three here with the West Virginia post game show at the Voice of College Football channel. But while you guys are in here, if you're watching us live, or even if you're catching this on a playback, scroll down, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button, give us that like. That'll really help this video's performance and help future videos performance as we try and grow this channel throughout Mountaineer Nation here at the West Virginia channel at the Voice of College Football. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation, trying to get the subscriber count up there, and plenty to talk about. So while you're in here, if you want to drop your comments down there in the chat, we'll try and get to some of those as we go through here. A lot to talk about, I'm sure, after an embarrassing performance to say the least, I guess, for sure. Let's go to the chat a little bit. Greg Adams, I know you were in here early, so we'll defend this coaching staff. I dare you. He says, I mean, how could you at this point, really? The only thing
Yeah,
that,
true.
I'm sure that's going to be the talking point among the staff themselves, and probably among the athletic department if they do choose to keep Neil Brown, which who knows? But if they do, they're going to say, well, injuries really affected this team. We thought we had a really good team. Charles Woods got hurt early, and then the injuries built up mid-season. We lost C.J. Donaldson for a couple games, and then he came back, and we lost Mike O'Laughlin, and we lost James Gamitter and Wyatt Milam and Tony Mathis and Justin Johnson, which is true. But at what point do you stop allowing the excuses? Because to me,
I mean,
here's the thing. What year is Joey McGuire?
it's his first year, isn't it? Second
Fir-
year?
First year. What
First
year
year.
is
Yeah.
Lance Leipold's second year?
I mean,
They have to deal with injuries
and
and
if we're
stuff just
being
as well.
honest,
Both those
truly his
teams beat
first
you.
year.
Yeah, both those teams beat you. Matt Wells, who was the coach at Texas Tech, beat us every time as well, and he didn't even keep his job. It wasn't good enough what he was doing for them to keep him. So why are we still allowing excuses to be an issue 4 years in? I understand, we called a bad break this year in a lot of different ways. There's games we probably could have won, freak plays that have happened, and of course now injuries are building up. But it's the product that we're putting on the field more than anything. It would be okay if we were doing that and losing these games close and looking like we were prepared, but it's the constant every time we have a big game like this, we start slow. They jump on us super early. We look unprepared. Then once we finally settle in, we do some good things. Guess what happens? How many times has it been that there's a goal to go situation, or it's 3rd and 2 or 4th and
And you
2,
have a
and we're
penalty.
lining up and it's a false start? How many times?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't count. It's almost every game.
Yeah, and this is my issue with that is you can make the excuse of having those injuries, and I get that those would hurt any team, but why are we not putting in place backups that can fulfill those roles? Because I don't see other teams getting blown out like that whenever they have injuries. You know, just because they have those injuries, you see teams get blown out every now and then, but I mean, the only other team that I can remember getting blown out like this on a regular basis is Kansas. Are we really going to accept being the new Kansas? And that's
I,
exactly what, if we accept this and this coaching staff treating our program like this, then that's exactly what we're going to end up being, as much as I hate to say that. Because
well,
I've
and like I
been
said,
one that, I'm trying to be optimistic about things. And I've always tried to be optimistic about things, but it's hard to be optimistic when they can just continually, progress in a negative direction.
mhm. Well, and like I said, there's still 5 games left in this season, so that is what it is. But like I said, going in, this is a game that was going to show one of these teams was going to probably end up in the top half of the conference, and one was probably going to end up in the bottom half. I think West Virginia showed they're going to end up in the bottom half of this conference, and I think it seems like we're going to be battling to not be the very bottom team of that conference.
Yeah, and
That's unacceptable.
that's very much unacceptable because now they're making me look like an idiot because I predicted them to go 9-3.
But we all did, and I think that that shows. You know what I'm saying, not all of us like across the board, but most of the people that cover West Virginia that do predictions were going 7 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, at least 6, and
Yeah,
who knows if we'll get to 6 at this point.
I,
I don't
I
feel confident in it. I don't feel confident in it at all.
I just believe that if we were, like you said, if we were losing games and it was a lot closer, we've been in those situations. We've had seasons in the past few years where we've been losing games and they've been close, and now we're losing games and they're not close. So that's why we're progressing in the wrong direction. We 4 years in, we can't, as a program where we set our standard, we can't accept that on the field. And
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I really just don't understand.
I think, well, like I said, it's not the losses. It's not because I think the injuries are real for West Virginia and how they're piling up and stuff. So, West Virginia probably wasn't going to win this game with the injuries that they sustained in the game, losing both their running backs, losing an offensive lineman after you're already down one going into the game. But I want to see us compete. We don't want to be embarrassed. That's the thing that's, I think, frustrating the fan base the most, and why this noise is getting so loud is because of how embarrassing that these performances are. When we know that it's important games.
Yeah, well, it's so important that you invest in the right guy and the coaching staff in this day and age, right? So, like, I think that it's most frustrating because we've spent 4 years with this coaching staff and trying to buy into that culture and try to defend him and have his back and everything. And it's we can't waste too much time because in this day and age, your program will just fall to the wayside. I mean, look what happens to a program if they're not set up for success. I mean, look at UConn, right? UConn is a very successful basketball program, and they had very successful football programs with the Big East, but their coaching staff didn't set them up for success, let alone their athletic department, and so they fall to the wayside and they're playing in a whack conference. And when we're in a day and age where conference alignment is just around the corner for someone like West Virginia, it's highly possible that we're left in a similar situation where we have to find somewhere or be left, out to dry. And
Yeah.
I think for those reasons alone, we have to have someone in place to have us in at least competitive role, nationally.
I'd agree.
And
I'd agree, man.
that's what we've always been up to this point.
Well, it feels like we're at a crossroads. That's what I would call it. I don't know how it's going to go moving forward, but it definitely feels like this program's reached a crossroads with this one. Let's see. Let's go to chat here for a second. Nick Dangerous has maybe beat Iowa State, but it's at Ames. Yeah, I know that's what I'm worried about. That's always a tough place to play. Old Golden Blue Show says you guys do a great job. Appreciate that, Old Golden Blue Show, and appreciate you tuning in and chiming in as always. And G Smyrna, our friend here, he's always so positive, and always appreciate him and his outlook. He says they'll beat TCU.
Absolutely.
I'm honestly that's what I'm worried about, is because that's what seems to always happen. We get to these places where we're like, oh, it's all, we lose all hope, and then Neil Brown finds a way to win a big home game, and we get that hope again. So I don't know. It definitely feels like a crossroads, but joining us here, we go Mountaineer Paul. Of course, you all know him here on the West Virginia channel at the Voice of College Football. Mountaineer Paul talks football over on YouTube. You need to check out his channel, growing, doing awesome things over there. But Paul, I know we're a little bit downtrodden right now after that embarrassing performance is what I've been calling it. But where are you sitting?
I'm in the same boat, guys. Man, I heard you saying right as I jumped on there, he wins a big home game against Baylor last week. We all feel like maybe this is the turning point in the season. I'm sorry, but you're not a true Mountaineer fan if you didn't have in the back of your mind 9-3. I think a lot of us thought that was possible. We wanted it to be possible, and unfortunately, it's just not who we are this year. If anybody can explain to me why we still run zone read plays, I would like to know the answer to that because, the couple of times I saw it today, the backside defensive end obviously probably laughed as he ran past JT Daniels to crash down on the running back.
Right.
It made no sense to me. So I have questions about everything. I literally have questions about everything. Jordan Leslie was so mad, couldn't even chew his gum today. So obviously very frustrated with the entirety of just all of it. Uh, so many questions, but I do think I've had a hot take today. I feel like it's JT. I really appreciate what he's done for us, but I'm all about replacing him at this point. I just think we need another spark, and I don't think we're going to be. We might be a French Bowl team this year. So if that's the case, then let's get our future ready. Whoever that is, I don't care if it's Garrett Green. I don't care if it's Nico Marchiol, if it's Goose Crowder, whoever it is. I've seen enough of JT Daniels to know that he's not good enough to raise the level of this team to great heights. He's good enough to be a great quarterback, and he might have done good in that 2018 offense with Gary Jennings and David Stills, but this is not the offense.
Yep.
We just don't have the boys. We don't have the boys. It's just not. It's just the truth.
Well,
We've
and
got good players, but
point,
not great players.
Yeah, to that point, I was funny because I was actually messaging back and forth with somebody during the game, and we were talking about that because we were talking about, he mentioned, I think Greer's better than JT, and I said, yeah, but I would like to see JT Daniels, like if the offensive coordinators in this game were flipped, if he had Zach Kitley in the Texas Tech type of offense, because I think JT Daniels is really hampered by the fact of the type of offense we have to try and run because our defense is so bad. We have to try and run this balanced offense where we do these long 14, 15 play drives, balancing the run and the pass, because our defense is so bad and they know that. And so it really, I think, hurts JT Daniels. And like you said, it's not working with him in there just because of that fact. We're hurting him, and I think too.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. This is not what he signed up for. I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, we were saying best case scenario that JT Daniels is only on campus for 6 months, and I think we're dreaming right now if we thinking that he's going to go pro in the draft next year.
Right, which is something that I was hoping was going to happen. I know that last week that was an unpopular opinion when I said it, but I truly believe that the future is Nico or Goose. I'm a big fan of both. I think they both are really good players. If I had my way, it would be Nico. But, man, I've saw some things from Goose and the mobility he has. He's got really good top-end speed. And obviously, some of the throws that he's made, spring game and in cleanup duty, have been really impressive. Nico just has the pedigree, and if you've watched the comeback, you'll know what I'm talking about. That sold me on it.
Oh, yeah.
and then obviously the plays we've seen him make. I don't think the spring game was a good barometer for who he is. He just hadn't had enough time to show what he could do, while the other guys have been on campus for a year, and in Garrett Green's case, an extra year. So I don't know. I'd like to see one of those two guys get a crack at it next week, though.
I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it at all.
If you've been watching, I've been a big fan of Nico Marchiol for a long time now, ever since that what you just mentioned, the comeback. And I think he's going to be the future of West Virginia. But as much as I would like to see it, I just don't. Just knowing what I know about Neil Brown and how he's handled things, we won't see.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, we won't see him. No. not unless something.
He'll stick to his guns. He'll go down with the shit.
Yeah.
He will.
I was about to say, JT, unless JT decides, my arm's hurting a little bit, I'm gonna sit this one out, because they did have him iced up a little bit there at the end and stuff. So who knows? They could say he's injured, but if not, I agree with you. That's Neil Brown hasn't shown the willingness to really change and go with the young guys at all throughout his 4 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because I still stand by that. If we start Garrett Green next year or last year, that we're a lot better of a football team than what we were.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%.
Sure,
100%.
Sure. Even though he struggles in the intermediate passing game, I don't think. So did Jarrett Dagey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
but at least
he had way more upside.
And like you
Absolutely.
said, with the read option RPO offense we're trying to run, at least we'd have the actual threat of it with him in the game. So that's one thing. Here's an interesting comment, though. James Hurley says that was our worst performance in the last 10 years. Totally unprepared. I agree, totally unprepared. I think I seen Blue Gold News say that people on the sidelines were debating if this Texas Tech performance or the one in 2012 was worse, and people were leaning towards this one. But how do you guys feel about all-time worst performance? Like, is it that bad?
It's as much as it sounds bad to say, it's hard to gauge. There's been so many bad performances that I've seen, but it's up there. It definitely is up there. I don't know if this one or 2012 is worse, because 2012 we were on a roll heading into that game. No one's seen that coming, I don't believe. Even with as bad as that defense had played, I think everyone would agree that we thought our offense would save us in any situation. And I think that game still in my mind is worse, because at least this year we knew we were bad, going into the game. Not to say that makes this one any easier, but
I was about to say the only way to compare to me, though, is like I felt like the offense really let us down in this one too. Maybe not as bad as that one, because this offense wasn't as high flying, but this offense, I didn't know what was happening with it today. It was bad.
Yeah, really bad. Man, if you're talking about the last 10 years, I've got to go back to the Maryland game. When the backup, what was his name? Was it Jack Allison?
Ford Childress.
Ford Childress. That
there you go.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
37-0. That's definitely the worst, I think.
Ford Childress.
Was that the Maryland game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that one.
That was a rough
bad day.
Kansas State last year against Baylor, last year against Oklahoma State. We've had a few of these recently.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say overreact, because it's they call it overreaction Monday for a reason. We're all overreacting to it. We're overreacting a little bit because we're upset. But there's truth in it. Believe that. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. This is not an overreaction about Neal Brown. I was just on another show right before I jumped on here. I'd made another commitment on Golden Blue Dude. I was telling Joey, I said, I just don't know what about it isn't connecting, because it was all there. He was Luke Fickell wrapped up in a box for us. And I don't know what it is about him that's not – can they not identify talent at the Power 5 level, but they could at the Group of 5 level? Is it Vic Coding? Yeah, I mean, what is it that's not connecting for Neal Brown in West Virginia? Because it's a great cultural fit. He's as great a cultural fit as we've ever had, ever.
Yep.
So what the hell is it? And I don't know. It's so frustrating, guys. And guys, we die with these guys, with these boys, almost like we're on the field ourselves, and we work out with them, and like we're on the team, but we make our contributions where we can, whether that's in the chat or whether that's on screen like we are here. But at the end of the day, we all love the Mountaineers, and It's hard, man. It's not easy being a Mountaineer fan right now.
No.
Yeah. It's hard. Like you said, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place too, I think, because you're trying to figure out why isn't it clicking, because the hire was praised by everyone. You don't know if it's just a move to the Power 5. Maybe they're trying to do something that worked at Group of 5 that's not working at this level. It's hard to exactly put your finger on it, but I think as far as fans, we're also stuck between a rock and a hard place, because everything else is good, but on-field results, for one, and then for two, you're like, we just went through a rebuild for, going on to the fourth year now, and we're going to have to endure another one. So is it going to be another 4 years? We're waiting. And so we're just like, what do we do? And we're hurt, really.
Yeah. I think that's a scary situation to be in, because I think if you're West Virginia, I don't think you can afford another 4-year rebuild. You know what I mean? And so then you're putting yourself in a position where you're possibly like, okay, well, you got to go through this guy. Maybe he's not it. And then you're putting your kind of where Texas is, in their coaching carousel and what they've put themselves into. They try a guy for 2 years, it didn't work out, and then they get rid of him.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry, were you still talking?
No, it was just essentially just like you can't afford, if you're West Virginia, to go through a 4-year rebuild you know what I mean?
No, but this is where I want to challenge all of our thinking a little bit on something. Because I found myself saying that earlier today, and I thought, wait a second. Is it still 4 years, though? Because, I mean, obviously, every situation isn't going to turn out to be like Kansas, or several other first-year head coaches. Brian Kelly's another one at LSU. Is it still 4 years? Is it still a 4-year setback? Do you guys still believe that? I know
No.
you just said it, but now that you think about it, when you really think about it, just revisit that. I don't know if it is a 4-year setback anymore with the way the portal works, and who knows how long it'll be like that. We haven't heard anything about the portal being over with or ending. So if you've got a guy that can come in, identify talent, identify what fits his system, like Bill Belichick, and Pelosi or whatever that guy's last name that used to be his GM for so many years. That's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one thing that worries me is that I don't think it has to be 4 years. I think it can be quick, but the only thing is you're rolling the dice that you hit it right, because I think you have to hit it right for it to be less than 4 years and get the perfect mix, whether it be hitting that coach or getting the right players in that are already there with that coach. But I think that's the bad thing is you're just rolling the dice, because I think if anything, the hire of Neil Brown shows it's a complete crapshoot, because
Right.
there's no one that said that was a bad hire, that this was a bad hire. So
Right.
it's tough.
It was labeled like the second or third best hire of the year that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
On
it was definitely
side.
one of the top candidates. And so that's, you go through that, and then you go through Dana, and you wonder, like, what is it about us lately that we can't hire the right guy?
Do you think it's that, like, we're one of the only Power 5 teams, obviously, it's well known. We don't have a home base to recruit out of. A lot of people know that. We have a couple guys every, couple years. We might have 2 or 3 4-star guys that jump up. Rarely do we have a 5-star guy, like a Wyatt Milan type player that come out who's a French 5-star. Doug Nesters are rare. So that's a hamper, but it really hasn't affected coaches in the past. It's already inbuilt with West Virginia. We have so many connections. So I think somebody brought up Tony Gibson. I think if anything, that might be why he could work for us, is because he already has those relationships. Because you have to have them if you're going to come to a place like West Virginia. You can't be Brian or Chip Kelly, who has been on the West Coast your entire career, and then come to West Virginia. That's when it takes 4 years, because you have to build those relationships with these other high school coaches that have no idea who you are except for who they've seen on TV. Because people don't know this, but a lot of what kids do or decide to do has to do with the high school coach and the family, and so and a lot of times the family listens to the high school coach and what he has to say on the subject, because they know these coaches. And so if you don't bring in a guy that has a relationship with these coaches, that can set you back. So I don't know. Tony Gibson's a guy that might have that and be able to turn it around fast. We've never seen him coach a team on that level, but I'm at a loss, because I don't know at the Power 5 level, who can we bring in that's already had success? Who is it?
It's a few and far between.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing, is because you're looking at it like where this Neil Brown thing appears to not be working out, and however that plays out or whatever is what it is. But if you're looking at it as, like, if you're Shane Lyons looking at it and you're trying to make the next hire, say he fires Neil Brown, he's looking to make the next hire. Well, what is he looking for? Because he's thinking in his head, like, Neil Brown checked all the boxes. So what did he not have that I have to find in this next guy? It just makes, I think, whoever you hire as your next coach even harder to find the right guy, because you thought you already had it.
Right. Yep.
Let's see. Let's go to chat here for a second. I think we got some good engagement popping up here. If I can get this mouse to hit work real quick. Kuz's Corner. Good to see you in here, Kuz. What's going on, man? He says a complete overhaul is needed at WVU. Have to tear it down and start over. I mean, I'm not against it at this point.
It's better than the suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've already said everything that I can think of, because right now, like, it's just, everything that keeps playing in my mind is just like, how can this happen? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing in my mind that would have thought I predicted us to lose this game, and there's nothing in my mind that predicted us going and looking the way that we did. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm still in shock for the most part. I just can't think of anything other than that to say.
Well, I mean, somebody's at a loss.
Yeah, that's literally how I feel. Like, even when I was thinking about coming on here, I knew like we'd have some talking points and stuff. But like, I was like, I really don't know what to say, because like I said, I'm at a loss for words from what I saw from the offense. I'm like, I don't know. I don't, and people were saying maybe Graham Harrell should take over, and I'm not against that either. But also, the offense didn't look so hot today either, and a lot of that goes on him and game plan he had. So I don't know. I kind of go at this point. I'm like, if we're gonna make a move, I kind of go to Kuz's point, like just completely rebuild the staff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of the reason too. I didn't even realize that as well. Is there's so many homecomings, I guess you could label it as. You got Graham Harrell. You got Neil Brown coming back to where he used to be at offensive coordinator. You've got all this stuff about the John Denver thing that plays around it. We haven't won the game since Neil Brown's took over the reins at WVU. I mean, like, what else do you need as motivation to not get blown out, and then you come out and just look
Yeah,
horrible.
it's almost to the point now where it's just like the old saying, pressure busts pipes, right? So they want to win so bad. Like, he knew coming into this week, like, okay, finally I can get back to 500 as a coaching record, and also I can get over 500 on our team record. This could be great. Comes in and all he does is press. You guys seen him on the sidelines. He was, I thought, I mean, I've seen him get upset, but he was out of character even for himself. Jordan Leslie couldn't even chew gum. It was falling out of his mouth. He was so mad. I mean, these dudes are dudes that look stressed out right now. And I don't see how you can do a good job if you're that stressed. I know I've never been able to. Anytime I've ever been, not everybody is as cool as, I hate to use Tom Brady's, but not everybody's that cool under pressure, and coaching is a pressure-filled game, especially on the sidelines in the moment. You have to make calls. Things aren't going your way. Now we got to do this or that. But one thing I want to revisit just for a second is you talked about Graham Harrell and his plan for the day. Do we really know how much control he has over that? Because I don't think I've watched him before. He runs what Texas Tech runs, that hurry up, fast pace, or like they do at UCF. This methodical 15 plays, and I know some of that is personnel related, but I don't think that would matter to him. So, because JT's perfectly capable of running a hurry up, fast pace offense. Do you think he was saying, no, we're going to do it? That's like where he gets his 2 cents in. We're going to run it my way with your way mixed in.
I do.
And I think a lot of that plays into how bad the defense is also, is because they're not going to sit there and rush and score all day with you if, they just know that the defense isn't going to be able to hold you, and they're, you know what I mean? They're just going to be in a score match all day, whereas if they hold the ball more, then they're going to be able to, you know what I mean? I guess that plays into more of it too, but but it's definitely not the offense we were excited and what was advertised coming into Morgantown with Graham Harrell. That's for sure.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And here's the thing: when you see Texas Tech and Barrett Morton, they take a chance on Barrett Morton. They benched Donovan Smith, who was having a great year. Tyler Shuck was healthy coming in this game. They give the redshirt a chance, and he lights it up. Of course, he's obviously probably a first-round talent, from what I can see. Just based on his arm talent, he's very good. So, take that from what you know. But we've got a couple guys I like in our bullpen as well. So.
Yep, I agree. I hope we see him before too long. I mean, I know we got to see Garrett Green some, but I want to see what Goose and Nico, like you said, that's kind of the two that I like the most as well. So I'd like to see what they have. moving forward. But there was an interesting point that I wanted to bring up. I saw on Twitter during the game. I believe it was Smoking Musket that brought it up. Can't remember 100%, but I think that's who it was. But and because it's something that I've kind of been feeling too. And the point basically, I'm paraphrasing, obviously I don't have it pulled up or anything, but he was talking about if we do move on from Neil Brown, that he's kind of done with the air raid at West Virginia. Because since, we went to the Big 12, that's what we've been running is different variations of the air raid, obviously under Dana, and then now under Neil, of course, who ran it, different variation of it. And then bringing in Graham Harrell, of course, too. But obviously, a decade in the conference and we haven't sniffed a conference title game running that. I mean, do you guys partially blame that, or would you agree with that? Kind of being done with the air raid and maybe going another way would be a better way to go about it.
I definitely think that it's starting to go that direction because it worked for a while offensively. We had really good offensives, for the most part throughout Dana's tenure, but it's starting to become a moot point. As offenses are an ever-changing entity. It's just something that we need to evolve from, I guess.
There's precedent for it. Kansas State don't run air raid.
Mm-hmm.
They do what they do. And I think, what we've gotten away from is who we are as a program traditionally. And that's having a mobile, athletic quarterback and the quarterback run. We're very similar to Kansas State.
Yeah.
We've had, whether it was Major Harris, whether it was Rasheed Marshall, whether it was Pat White, whether it was Geno even, had some wins. Obviously, we didn't run the same type of offense. Geno's slung it everywhere, but you know what I'm saying. So obviously there's something to that. You've succeeded with multiple quarterbacks throughout your history of the program. There's no reason to go away from it. I don't see why. So, guys, I have to get off here early tonight. I'm really sorry about that.
No problem. You're fine, man.
I told you guys I'll be on the call tonight. So, yeah, I'll be doing a video on JT later on how I feel like we should make some changes. So you can catch that at Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. I don't have a link to put in there, but I appreciate the Country Roads webcast for having me on tonight. Obviously, Voice of College Football and Mark, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I feel like I talked a lot tonight, so I apologize if I got you guys off.
No, you're good, brother.
Just upset.
No, there's a lot to say. We're glad to have you, and always glad to hear your talking points and stuff. Appreciate you being able to join.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, I got somebody outside waiting on me right now, so I'm gonna jump out.
All right, man.
Brother.
Have a good night.
See y'all next week.
See you, brother.
All right, see you next week, man. All right. Really appreciate Mountaineer Paul Talks Football for being able to hop on for us. Of course, you'll see him put up content here on the West Virginia channel with the Voice of College Football. But if you haven't already, go sub his channel up as well, Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. A lot of great content coming there. And he has some great takes and great opinions. Let's go to the chat here for a second, Stephen. Koo says he basically agrees. He says the air raid has become too predictable. We need something new and unpredictable. And I think, to that point of needing something new and unpredictable, that's one thing that I've been kind of, looking, people have kind of course, been looking at coaching candidates with Neil Brown on the hot seat and stuff. And one of the names that kept popping up that I was interested in was Jamie Chadwell, Coastal Carolina. And new and unpredictable would definitely be that type of offense. He runs a very unique scheme on offense. And I think the way it's designed, of course, it's triple option based. And I think if we could bring that into West Virginia, it could almost have an effect similar to what Rich Rod did when he brought that read option initially. And I think for West Virginia to have success, maybe it's not that specifically, maybe it's not Jamie Chadwell on that, but I think it's something like that, something unique. Mountaineer Paul even mentioned, having a mobile quarterback. And I think at West Virginia, we have to do something unique and different like that offensively. And the air raid, I think, at a point, maybe when we first started doing it, was more unique in college football, but now it's the norm. And I think it's proven that at West Virginia, it's not as successful. And I think one point of that may be due to the fact that, talking about recruiting, West Virginia can't recruit high level offensive linemen necessarily. We have to recruit, lower and develop them. And that's one of the reasons I think, the read option offense was so successful with Rich Rod, because you completely didn't block one guy, leaving a guy on block to read him and doing his own blocking scheme. They don't have to be held as long. So I think maybe the air raid at West Virginia hasn't been as successful because we don't have the type of offensive lineman to be able to pass protect and have a pocket around a quarterback consistently game after game after game, especially once injuries pile up and depth becomes an issue. What is your take there, Stephen?
Yeah, I actually was just reading in the comments a few minutes ago. I can't remember who it was that mentioned it, but it says that every time they watch West Virginia, that the size comparison between the two teams is almost unbelievable. Because West Virginia's always the smaller man team, and I think for that reason alone, like you said, Rich Rod was largely successful because they used a large portion of their speed to kill you. If their lineman couldn't block somebody, you use their speed to get around the edge on somebody with that read option. And I don't know if going back to the read option per se is the right call, because that's a really predictable offense in today's game as well. But I think if some rendition of that were to, I think innovation is something that we need to look for in a head coach if we're going to go looking for one.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
because it's going to be somebody that needs to change and evolve with the game, because we've got to think outside the box. We can't think of, what traditionally is successful, because West Virginia is not a traditional program. We can't recruit the same size guys, so we've got to figure out a way to be successful around that. And like you said, I think that for that reason, we're not going to be able to run a run heavy offense, straight up the gut like what we originally thought. I think that's what a lot of us really wanted to do this year. I think that was our main goal. If you go back and listen to us in the beginning of the year, that was our main goal, is to run the ball and run the ball well. We haven't done that. I mean, we have done that, but we haven't done it consistently. I can't say that. That's unfair.
I was going to say consistency has
to
been the
guys, because
issue,
Justin Johnson
specifically against the Texas teams. We haven't been able to do it against the Texas teams.
Right. Yeah.
For whatever
so
reason.
I want to take that. I want to take that remark back, because it's not fair to those running backs. They have played well at times, but it's just not been as successful as anybody thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general that can be across the offense because the explosion isn't there. And like I said, I think part of that is by design, just because, and like Mountaineer Paul was talking about, Neil Brown chiming in on Graham Harrell's offense because this isn't normally how it looks. And I think he did, because I think, going through spring or whatever, they noticed their defense was bad at tackling, was bad at getting angles, was bad in coverage, so they're like, our defense is probably not going to be the greatest. We need to compensate for that. So we can't run this, spread wide open. We need to slow it down. And that's why we're running the type of offense that we're running, more trying to be balanced, a lot of power run, a lot of counter, to the point where we're trying to stay balanced. Even when we're down 30 points, we're still running the football on 3rd and 6. So some of that's a little bit excessive, I think, but I definitely do think Neil Brown has his hand in it for sure. D. Wayne here in the chat says Texas Tech has played 5 ranked teams in a row. They're a great team to go 2-3 in those games, and that freshman Morton is going to be a Heisman contender in the future. Yeah, I don't want to take away from anything Texas Tech did today for sure. I think that they're a good football team, and they're going to have a strong, second half of the season, and they played a tough schedule early. Morton looked really good, and I think they've got a lot of potential. Bashing on West Virginia isn't about anything Texas Tech did or taken away from them for sure. They're a good team. I think it's just more about how West Virginia looked rather than West Virginia losing, to that point. What are your thoughts, though, Stephen? You think Texas Tech's going to be a contender?
Yeah, well, I don't. I said last night that they were probably going to be the best 3-3 team that we've probably ever seen, just because of, if you look back at their last 5 games, each game has been a ranked opponent. So they've been tested more than they need to be tested throughout a season.
Yeah.
And I believe they can be a contender, every bit of it. They got options at the quarterback position.
And their defense looked good today too. I mean, that one defensive end they got, he's a beast. He's a monster. But
they ended up with how many interceptions? What they get 4? Was it 4?
Well, they got three interceptions and a forced fumble. Yeah. And those interceptions, they went up and got them. One of them they took away from.
And then that's another thing I want to. That's another thing I wanted to touch on. Is we're not talking about this enough at all, in my opinion. Is Bryce Ford Wheaton on the one interception? You got to come down with that ball, man. That's just absolute lack of effort on that play. It's 50-50 ball. He had possession of the football, and when he came down, He just let the defender take it from his hands. I mean, that's embarrassing. I mean, I'm sorry. Unless you broke your forearm, you come out of there with it. At least 50-50 ball goes to the receiver, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if
Right.
it's dual possession,
Okay.
if they
Well,
both
then,
have it, all you got to do is have it with them.
all right. We'll roll around with the guy for a few seconds so they blow the whistle, and then it's your possession of the ball. Don't get that was the worst
Well,
play by a receiver I have seen in a long time.
and you know why
Just on a
that's and you know
50-50
why
ball like
that
that.
bothers you? You know why that bothers you so much? It's for the same reason that it bothered me and probably bothered, a lot of people, is because that guy wanted it more than he did. And I think that's
Right.
the problem across the board.
Yep.
And when you look at this team and these type of performances and why we're harping on it is not, like I said, I've said it before, so it's not because we lost. It's because of that. It's because we don't even look like we want it more. We're not efforting, it doesn't look like we care. And I don't know if they've lost the locker room at this point. I know that'll be a topic of conversation, and I don't think that that's true. But I think that for some reason, I don't know what it is. I can't tell you the exact reason, but for whatever reason, in these games that seem to be important games, countless times, two this season that I can think of course, against these two Texas teams. I'm sure you can go back over the past 4 years and look at them as well. The important games, we show up unprepared and we get our doors blown off in the first half.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't remember this happening, post 2004 too many times. And I feel like it's happened at least once every year in the Neil Brown era. It has happened at least once every year in the Neil Brown era. We've gotten blown out.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that
So
many
far.
times consistently through the Dana era that happened.
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's rough right now. It is. It's all I can say. Baxter Mallory says poor tackling, poor pursuit angles, poor effort, unmotivated. Yeah, kind of what we just touched on a little bit. He said our identity is punch us in the mouth and we will roll over. And that's the problem right there. That's the thing is at least, compete, fight.
Yeah, have some
You're
heart.
out of it before. Yeah. It's
Show that
we
you
don't
want
want
to
to be
be there.
embarrassed. Yeah,
Show that we
don't want to
deserve
be
to be there.
embarrassed. Be prouder than that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Browns and Beers. Tech played a great game, but my God, short of year one with the coach, old Kansas, any Big 12 losing on the road like that within the conference is embarrassing. Yeah, exactly. It is. It is. It was tough to watch, and I bared the entire thing because I was doing a live tweet thread, on our Twitter there, and I bared the whole thing, watched it to the very last second, still tweeting.
As
So
did I.
it was tough. It was tough, but at least if anything else, we are still committed. If we watched that one, we're going to watch the final 5 games as well, whatever the results may be there, and we're going to cheer and hope for the best, regardless, no matter what. We're harping on the coaching staff now, as I think a lot of Mountaineer Nation is, but that doesn't mean that we're not in support of the team and still want to see them win these final 5 games and going to be watching them. We're hoping for 5 wins.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not 5 wins total. I mean, 5 wins over these 5 games,
Right.
5 wins actually might be more realistic as far as season total. But
yeah, I said it, right before the Baylor game, rain or shine, I'm going to be there. Whether we lose or we win, I'm going to be there because I'm going to support them. Because that's what this is about. That's why we support them in this day and age, just so we can appreciate it whenever they're that good again. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes it so much better when we are good, is because West Virginia's traditionally been not a bottom feeder, because we've always been competitive and we've always been a nationally respected team, especially post 70s. But
yep, since John Nealon.
Yeah. But yeah, I digress. I think West Virginia will be back one day, and I will be there every game until they do.
Yeah, exactly. It'll just be that much sweeter whenever we do get back and we compete for a Big 12 conference title. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. We'll see what happens. But to somebody's point, I believe it was G Smyrna that brought it up in our Q&A stream. We do potentially have a lot of pieces coming back next season. We'll see how many of them we can keep and see what's going on with the staff. But I mean, if you're looking for a silver lining, there's always next year. I mean, that's our motto as West Virginia fans. But hey, always got to try and be optimistic about something. And there's still 5 games left we get to enjoy. So that's the main thing. Silas, good to see you, man. He says, dropping by for a minute. Sad day to be a Mountaineer. NB has to go. I appreciate you, Silas, always coming in and tuning in and chiming in. Catch the playback if you got to bounce out, Silas, for sure. And while you're in here, Silas, and of course, while everyone else is in here one more time, got a few more people in here now. So just want to remind you guys, while you're in here watching live, or if you're catching this on the playback, even hit the like button if you would for us. That'll really help this video's performance and help future videos performance as we continue to try and grow the West Virginia brand here throughout Mountaineer Nation and grow the West Virginia channel here at the Voice of College Football. And appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button as well. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. Silas says Nico needs to be the final guy. The final 3 games. Sorry, can't speak since he's played in one already. Time to look to the future. Like I said, I wouldn't be mad at it. But I don't expect this coaching staff to do it.
Same. And I don't necessarily believe that that's the answer. I wouldn't be mad at seeing that, but I don't think that's the answer to fix all of our problems.
I don't know if there is an answer at this point. That's the thing.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I think
Jay
we've proven
Glizzy,
we're just a bad football team.
Yeah, that's what I was supposed to say. That's funny because that's actually like my dad texted me during, I think it was third or 4th quarter, and that's all he said. He said, "We're just not very good." That's all. That's all he said. Like, and I mean,
simple,
it's
man.
simple. It's a simple way to put it, but I mean, it's kind of what it
true.
boils down to. I guess it's what it's kind of looking like, unfortunately. But 5 games to turn that around and change that opinion. So we'll see. Jay Glizzy says, "I love this team so much. We deserve better right now. Brown has to go." Yeah, that's what hurts, is because we all love this team and we do deserve better as fans. I think we do. And I think West Virginia football as a program deserves better, more importantly.
Yeah, absolutely. As a program and as a whole, as is going to sound really corny to say, but as a whole Mountaineer Nation, that we deserve better, and
we do,
in a serious sense. But I mean, it's true. We do. We've put so much effort and time into being what we need to be as a prominent program in this country. And I mean, when are we going to get our due? We've been at the doorstep how many times? When are we going to be there? And like you've mentioned so many times, it should not be out of the question to want to compete for a national, or not a national, excuse me, sorry. Whoa. To compete for a conference championship at least once a decade.
Yeah. At least. That's
yeah.
the bad thing. That's the bad thing. Mike King says he's been following the Mountaineers since 1965, 57 years of being battle tested. You know all too well then, but you've been there through the highs and through the lows and seen, some really bright spots as well, though. So hopefully the Mountaineers can get back to some of those bright spots in the Big 12, because I'd like to see them do it, in this Big 12 era, because we just haven't seen it yet. So that's what's so frustrating. But yeah, that's what it's all about right there, what Mike King's saying. And that's how we're all, going to be, probably everyone in this chat. Of course, me and you, we're going to eventually, Lord willing, be 57 years battle tested as well, about nearly 20 down already. So almost halfway there, but that's what it's all about. And that's why we're all so proud and want to see the Mountaineers win. As Old Gold and Blue Show here puts it great. He says, win or lose, we'll always rip the Old Gold and Blue. There will be better days for us. There will be. And, we'll suffer through whatever we have to suffer through to get to them. But regardless, we're going to be here. It's talking points at least, right? Something for us to talk about here all together, throughout Mountaineer Nation. And we all got each other. We all want the same thing, and that's West Virginia to be successful.
Hey, you know what helps take your mind off of Mountaineer football?
What's that?
Mountaineer basketball, which is just right around the corner. And if you didn't know,
True.
The Country Roads webcast has a hoops version, and we will be dropping our season preview show very, very soon.
Oh, nice plug. Wow, well
hey,
done.
Man, I took opportunity. I seen an opportunity, and I took it.
You hit it perfectly on that segue. But that being said, appreciate everybody that's tuned in here. Like I said, on the Voice of College Football channel, West Virginia at the Voice of College Football channel, and of course on the Country Roads webcast channel. 2 of the hosts there at the Country Roads webcast. I'm Jordan. This is Steven here on the right side of your screen there. Appreciate you all tuning in and chiming in. We'll be here after every West Virginia Mountaineer game this season on the Voice of College Football channel. Drop anything you got there in the chat. We're getting ready to get out here before too much longer. But as Steven said, definitely, as far as us here at the Country Roads Webcast, CRW Hoop Show, it's coming soon. But we also have plenty of other Mountaineer football content on our channel here on YouTube you can check out. So subscribe to us if you haven't already. Definitely some good stuff there. Weekly player grade videos will be coming out. Do a snap count series. It started a couple weeks ago. Then, of course, we do our podcast as well on the audio side, a little bit long former episodes where we preview each game, and then we'll do a review of each game. And you can find that on any podcast platform, or, of course, we post video versions on YouTube here. So just a little bit of plug in there. I mean, you inspired me, so I had to go for it for sure. Jay Glizzy says, be on the lookout for Golden Blue Dude bringing the clown suit. Oh, Mountaineer coming back, another appearance. So I have to check that out. I figured he might.
I like that.
Figured he might bring it out.
The Mountaineer. That's one thing. That I'm surprised that we didn't hear a lot of in the insults growing up.
Was Mountaineer?
That's a pretty clever one right there. The clown.
I don't think I was about to say I don't think I'd ever heard it until he started breaking out that clown makeup and then came up with the Mountaineer. I was like, that's good. I like that. So
yes,
yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that as well. Jacob Yoho, I think, with a great comment, something we touched on a little bit earlier, talking about, getting away from the air raid. We need not to pick up Mike Leach disciple, from his coaching tree for our next head coach. I'd agree that we've done it so far, in the Big 12, and it hasn't worked out. A decade in, having sniffed conference championship with his disciples or running the air raid. So I'd agree with that, Jacob Yoho. I don't know what direction we need to go in. That's kind of the main issue, but I would agree with that. Bradley Brown, CRW, part of the Country Roads webcast team here, our recruiting guy, says hello, everyone. Good to see you in here, Brad. Appreciate you jumping in here at the end there, as always, chiming in there in the chat. That being said, Stephen, any other talking points as far as this game? Anything you want to touch on that you saw, a play maybe we haven't touched on, or player, anything from this game that we haven't touched on before we get out of here for too much longer?
No, I'm gonna take the next 24 hours or so and digest this and try to see if I can find any positivity. There was a few points in the game where I was kind of excited, like I mentioned the Sam James catch earlier. I thought that was a great grab. Unfortunately, largely overshadowed by the poor play from the rest of the day from the rest of the wide receiving corps.
Well, the replay team was abysmal. I'll say that because that brought that up to my mind. First of all, overturning that, and then also in the first quarter, the Baylor quarterback, that ball was loose before his knee was down, and then they let Baylor just get a snap off quick. Didn't even call up for a review. Didn't even take a look at it. So,
which the review team at the head office should be calling down on that one.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm going to say not that it affected the game. I'm not trying to be one of those guys. I mean, it's a 48-10 loss. Right. It doesn't really make a difference, but I'm just saying the replay crew was pretty bad today with that overturn and then that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That was called an incomplete pass by Sam James, but I still thought it was a pretty good grab until he came down with it. Also,
hell of an effort.
I want to say, on the flip side, on the defensive side of the ball, I understand that Dante Stills isn't having quote unquote the season that everybody thought, or the season that he's had
held every play.
Man, oh man, can you please explain to me how you have a ref standing there right in the face of you're watching a guy getting held like this, the arms draped over him, and it's being held like this, and he's just walking around the whole time, and it's every game. And I've seen it against Baylor. It happened all night, against Baylor it happened all night long. And then I saw it a lot today, and it didn't get called. So I just don't understand what a holding call institutes. And again, not saying that would have changed the outcome of the game, because it wouldn't have. But for a guy like that, I truly hate that, because he came back for us. He didn't have to come back for him. You know what I mean? He took advice from pro scouts that said he needed to bring it every single play. But I promise you, there you go, rep. Yep. But I promise you, that kid could have went pro last year and he would have been something in the league this year. So, that's something that I really hate for that kid. So that's something I wanted to touch on. before
No,
he
I
got
agree
hit.
100%. I don't know why. I don't know what the refs have against him, but it seems like they will not give him a call for any. I mean, he finally got one today, but that was, about 10% of the time he was held, they
Yeah.
called it then because there was probably at least 10 times and they called one of them. So, yeah, I agree with you. That's definitely something I'm like, why don't they ever give him those holding calls? Because he was clearly fighting through a double team. Somebody's grabbing his jersey. You see the back judge standing there staring at the play. Nothing.
There's no way the judge misses that. I mean,
He's looking directly at it, man.
I was standing right there in front of it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Gojira 54, in my opinion, which doesn't really matter. We should be running a different offense scheme to control the ball and clock for our inept off. Well, I mean, we do. That's what we were talking about earlier. Gojira 54. I mean, traditionally, Graham Harrell's offense looks more akin to what Texas Tech is running, but our theory is Neil Brown, put his hand in as well as the rest of the coaching staff, which wasn't a bad decision to say we're going to, run the football. We're going to be balanced and do longer drives. And that's kind of why we see the offense we see this year is to try and help our defense because I think they realized that it was inept. But clearly, I mean, the offense has worked decently, but this game, just nothing was working. It was just bad all around. I guess, when you're off, you're off. Defense was bad, and then the offense, had helped them all season, but was not our day.
Well, right. I'll put it this way. I still consider Texas to be the better team out of these two teams, Texas Tech and Texas. I still think
Oh, I do
Texas
too.
is the better team, even though Texas Tech won the head-to-head.
Speaking of,
But I still think West Virginia played a better game against them as bad as they played against them. And the offense didn't come out and play at all today.
no, that's what shocked me the most is just how bad the offense looked today. Nothing was working, especially early in the first half. And I think I seen, somebody say that on the radio when they interviewed Neil Brown, I guess at halftime, that he said that that's as bad as we could play offensively in the first half. And I'd agree with him. But the bad thing is the second half was just as bad. In the second half, we
Yeah,
turned the
you
ball
don't
over the
make
whole time.
adjustments.
Oh, wow. Oklahoma State came back and beat Texas, actually. It looks like
Oh, yeah, G Smurder
41-34.
just said it in the chat. Yeah.
Yep, that's what I was looking to see. Dang. Oh, man, I missed
Yeah,
the end of
man.
that one. I'll have to check
Wow.
out the highlights. That's one thing I have to
Also,
check
another
out
team we're
for
probably going to
sure.
get a chance to get whooped by like this later on in the
Yeah.
year. We
Yeah,
played them.
Oklahoma State's good again.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
last
season
game. Is that the
finale
last game?
out
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Yeah, we're
Oh,
getting
yeah.
whopped by them.
Not happy about that one. Not happy about that one. But yeah, that's one thing I'll have to check out some highlights from that. But I also want to check out Neil Brown's press conference, see how that went. Went over and stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, I know that moving forward, let's brief little look ahead. Of course, the Mountaineers have TCU coming up. That's going to be a tough one. We'll see if TCU still undefeated when that game comes up next week. But homecoming for the Mountaineers, so at least we'll be at home. But super tough game there with arguably the top team in the Big 12. But that being said, as far as the Mountaineers are concerned, there's definitely going to be some injury updates. They're going to have to come out this week. Mountaineers lost a lot of players in this one, so hopefully some of those guys can return or things are going to look really bleak moving forward. But I guess, brief look ahead to TCU and the rest of the season. Steven, you got any hope in you?
Yeah, I hope I can be patient enough to wait for the basketball games to start.
That's a great way to put it. Like I said, we're cheering for it. We're going to watch it. Hoping for some good news on these injuries because we're going to need it with TCU rolling into Morgantown next week. But either way, we're going to be here to cover it along the way. We'll have our preview for that game coming up. Before that, we'll have our recap podcast here on the Country Roads webcast. That'll be coming out in the next couple of days, so be on the lookout for that as far as content from us here at the Country Roads webcast. As far as West Virginia channel here at the Voice of College Football, plenty of stuff coming out Mountaineer football coverage wise. And then we'll be back here again next week, immediately following that TCU game for another post-game show. But that being said, really appreciate you guys tuning into this one. I hope you guys come back, tune in next week. Hit the like button before you head out. Subscribe if you haven't already. No matter which one of the three channels that you're watching, we're simulcasting on all three: Voice of College Football, West Virginia at the Voice of College Football, and Country Roads webcast. Appreciate you guys throughout Mountaineer Nation. There will be brighter days moving forward, and we're looking forward to those days, and we're going to cheer the Mountaineers along the way. That being said, for Steven, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.